So today we're going to climb a ladder, but this is a very strange ladder because to go up, you don't add something new, you actually have to give something up. We're about to explore this really mind-bending idea that the laws of our entire universe are built on a series of sacrifices, where mathematics literally breaks its own most fundamental rules. Okay, let's just dive right in with this question. What if the universe isn't built on this perfect, rock-solid foundation of unchangeable laws? What if, instead, our reality, everything from the light you see to the gravity you feel, is the beautiful, messy, incredible result of math deliberately letting go of its own perfection one rung at a time? And that, right there, is the big idea we're unpacking today, the algebraic ladder. You can think of it as a series of trade-offs. If you want to describe a more complex piece of reality, well, you're going to need a more powerful mathematical language. But that power, it always comes at a cost. You have to let go of a rule you probably thought was sacred, totally unbreakable. So here's our roadmap for the climb. We'll start with what we're calling the price of reality. Then, we'll start climbing through four huge sacrifices. We'll see the complex shadow, the quaternion spin, then up to octonian gravity, and finally into the really strange territory of Sedenian oblivion. And at the end, we'll ask, what does it all mean to live in a universe that seems to be forged from imperfection? You know, this whole journey has a name in mathematics. It's called the Cayley-Dickson construction. We start off in a place that's super familiar, the perfectly ordered world of real numbers. But to get more expressive power, we double our dimensions at each step, creating complex numbers, then quaternions, octonions, and finally, sedonions. And with every single step up, something fundamental just breaks. All right, let's take our first step. We are moving from the real numbers to the complex numbers. And the price of admission is giving up this really simple idea of total ordering. Think about it like this. Real numbers, they just live on a simple line, right? You can always say that 7 is greater than 4. It's obvious. But complex numbers, they exist on a two-dimensional plane. So how can you say that some point up here is bigger than a point way over there? You can't. It's just not a meaningful question anymore. That neat, comforting sense of order is just gone.
But look what we get for that loss. By sacrificing that simple, neat order, we get the mathematical language of phase and oscillation. We can suddenly describe waves and cycles and vibrations. And the payoff? Well, this new power is the exact mathematics we need to describe electromagnetism. The price was order, but the prize was light itself. The source material puts it so beautifully. Moving from the one-dimensional real line to the two-dimensional complex plane is like realizing for the very first time that you have a shadow. A whole new dimension of reality is just popped into existence, attached to everything you knew, and you quickly learn it plays by very different rules.
Okay, time to climb. Rung number 2. As we move up to the quaternions, we have to sacrifice something even more fundamental than order. We have to break the rule of commutativity. Now, this is a rule we all learned back in grade school, right? 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. The order just doesn't change the answer. It feels like one of the bedrock laws of the universe. Well, on this next rung of the ladder, that law gets completely shattered. With quaternions, A times B is not the same as B times A. The path you take, the sequence of your operations, fundamentally changes the result. All of a sudden, order is everything. It's like the difference between turning left then right versus turning right then left. You end up in a completely different place. So what do we get for making this huge sacrifice? Well, we gain the language of rotation and spin in 3 dimensions. And what's the area of physics that's all about spin and operations where the order absolutely matters? Yep, quantum mechanics. You could say the inherent weirdness of the quantum world is the physical price we pay for climbing to this next mathematical rung.
Prepare yourself, because this next step, this one is the most profound. As we climb to the octonions, we have to sacrifice a rule that is so deep, so intuitive, we barely even notice it exists. We are about to sacrifice associativity.
So associativity is that simple rule that says, when you're multiplying a bunch of numbers, the parentheses don't really matter. A times B times C is the same as A times B times C. But with octonions, it's not. And this formula you see, the associator, it measures that tiny little difference. It's a number that equals 0 for basically all the math you've ever known, until now. And this, right here, is the absolutely mind-blowing insight. This failure to group things consistently, this mathematical error, it isn't a bug at all. It's a feature. This non-zero associator is the mathematical engine that gives birth to the very concepts of curvature and torsion, the bending and twisting of space itself. So, what physical force is described by the curvature of space-time? Gravity. This is the astonishing payoff. By giving up the comfort of associativity, we gain the mathematical language to describe space-time. You could say that gravity, in this model, is the physical manifestation of math's inability to group its own operations properly. Just incredible. This quote really just hammers the point home. This abstract failure of a mathematical rule, the associator, becomes a direct, symbolic analog for a physical force that shapes the entire cosmos. It's an absolutely profound connection. We've reached the final rung we're going to explore, the Sedenians. And up here, things get truly bizarre. The final sacrifice is the very idea of uniqueness, of a stable, singular identity. The thing responsible for this is something called zero divisors. Now, what that means is you can take two numbers, neither of which is zero, multiply them together, and get 0 as the answer. I know, it sounds totally wrong. If a times b equals 0, one of them has to be 0, right? Well, not anymore. And this one property just shatters the concept of a unique identity. So in this final trade-off, we sacrifice the ability to cleanly divide and to maintain unique identities. What we gain is a mathematical landscape of fragmentation, of what the source calls oblivion. And the physical parallel is pretty stark: annihilation, where matter and antimatter meet and become nothing, and the potential for total information loss. This image really captures the feeling of this final rung, doesn't it? It's a descent into mathematical noise, where stable structures just dissolve. It's like we've climbed so high to get the power to describe our world that the very fabric of mathematical identity has started to fray and collapse into static. So let's just take a breath and look back down the ladder that we've just climbed. We've journeyed from this world of perfect mathematical rules to a world rich with the physics we actually recognize, all of it driven by a deliberate series of sacrifices. Here is the entire journey in a nutshell. We gave up perfect order to get electromagnetism. We sacrificed the comfort of commutativity to describe quantum spin. We abandoned the deep logic of associativity to get gravity and spacetime. And finally, we let go of uniqueness and arrived at annihilation and oblivion. And this leaves us with one final, fascinating question. If the known laws of our universe seem to map so neatly onto these four broken roles, it suggests a profound idea. Maybe reality isn't some static set of laws to be discovered, but an evolving structure built on the beautiful ruins of mathematical perfection. What other roles are still out there, just waiting to be sacrificed to unlock an even deeper layer of the cosmos?